My second upload on the 1st of the 7th 22 is with regard to not the recovery of sanity and sobriety as a part of my work and objective as a social reformer, educator, humanitarian, royal pacifist, etc. The content of this upload is to do with the serious nature of the spiritual violence that has been caused in this community. My child's birth in 2015 gave rise and gave impetus to a new beginning, not just for my precious little boy, but also for his parents, my husband and I, in our roles as parents to a beautiful human being that I carried for 9 months. Unfortunately, what arose from that incident of birth in October 2015, what arose was the fraud and blasphemy that is still being treated to this day. Unfortunately, in this community, the matter has been spiraling out of control with these people that have been of bad faith practices. I'm as I've mentioned, an avatar. These matters have been an assault against my spiritual and royal bloodline, and it has been an assault against my humanitarian rights and my constitutional rights. Now, as I've been reiterating, this is a documentary. This is what's happening from a day-to-day basis. The serious nature from an avatar perspective of people in this community that have been offending since 2006 and that have still to this day been of bad faith practices is an awful concern for me as a parent and as a teacher and as an advocate, and most importantly as an avatar. There have been, as I've mentioned, individuals that have been intruding upon my bodily integrity and that have been manipulating nature and wildlife via damages to my bodily integrity. I did not consensually partake in this assault that occurred. I did not give consent. There were no legal circumstances surrounding the programming of wildlife and nature in Tralee, County Kerry. That is common knowledge. It's common knowledge. So there are people that are thinking they're going to just pull a blinder and tell a new tale, but unfortunately the stories that have been told already are quite serious about this person that formulates defamation. So that's quite serious to be exacerbating, and the offences against faith and family are quite dangerous to be exacerbating, especially when my child was only merely 2 or 3 years of age when he was spiritually assaulted. There have been the predators of my property and my farmland, of my ancestors and of my marriage, as I have to keep reiterating for the memory and minds and the conscience of those that are overstepping the line, that are breaking the law, for them to comprehend that there was a child I gave birth to that has suffered as a consequence of liabilities, and that has subsequently caused other problems due to the irresponsible nature of individuals that have obstructed and violated his mother. There are people preoccupied with property and attainment and acquisition that isn't safe. Nature has been disrupted because of these liabilities, and they have been of awful blasphemy and defamation. Now, nature is very delicate, and as an avatar, I'm really concerned about people being cheeky with the basics when they can't, you know, if they're not even getting the basics accurate or correct, and they're not really at a level to be playing or partaking in a matter where they're not qualified. Nature's very delicate, and so are little babies' lives. My little son's life in 2017, when he was abducted from me, very delicate. And there were individuals, adults in this community assaulting him simply due to being a royal heir of his mother. Tusla did not have a position with me. It had no rights with me. The guards, apparently, that presented themselves had no rights with me. And as a consequence, a beautiful child was harmed due to irresponsible behaviour, misconduct, negligence, call it what you like. It's abduction. It's a legally missing child. And today is we're in 2022. Now, I'm a qualified professional. There have been no children ever harmed in my care. The individuals that have taken on a function and a role and a position that have failed have a huge matter regarding accountability to confront. Now, I did my job meticulously to the best of my ability, which is only what any ever person is able to do. But those people that have consciously set about not to bother doing their job properly, and that have been a part of spiritual violence in this community, that's a problem. Now, in 2018, I've changed the face of Ireland. Ireland has had readjustments. That was down to my work in 2018. Now, there are people disrespecting that, and it's kind of rude. That's only, you know, that's an understatement. It's more than rude. My work in 2018 that I have been preparing for since 2006, even prior to then, since 2003, being disrespected, that's quite serious, you know. So 2018 changed society, and there have been reforms and developments in legislation. Now, there are individuals that think that they're above the law, and these people might present themselves as humanitarians. But unfortunately, when you're privy and partaking to more foul play that has been of blasphemy and treason, you're not playing in a safe game. And the game of life is quite dangerous, as we're all aware. So those that have shifted the goalposts and changed the pitch and are on a dirty card, a black card no less, I'm really concerned for you. What I'm owed and what I own is it's so vast. And there are people being cheeky with more dirty politics and more bad faith, and that's risking people's lives. So those that are being irresponsible with bad behaviours and bad practices, and even like this matter of disrupting people's homes, and then thinking they're walking onto the very, very, very invaluable property I own, after harming my precious child, and all that spiritual violence that was, you know, I hope there aren't people really putting themselves that much at risk, because as we've seen, there have been casualties already for the troubles I've experienced. So the people that cause problems in my environment or my abodes, that think that they're strolling onto any fantastic new developments on my old family land, I really haven't obviously been making myself clear enough to you. After the disrespect and blasphemy and treason to my beautiful son and I, my property and farmland, my old family farms, are not for those that have been in debt to us and disrespecting us. So any damage is done to abode, home, hearth and home, any harms like that, you know, everyone would know you're putting yourself at risk, especially with all the violence of spirituality and faith and religion that has been occurring. There's been quite a lot of dangerous developments that have disrupted the delicate nature of this situation. Nature has been disrupted, and as I've mentioned, the wildlife programming and guilty culprits from 2006 clearing their dirty debts with wildlife programming. And this is what I'm tolerating with the bodily integrity damages that are being caused. So those that are of bad developments, that are unlawful, I really hope you know the cross you are carrying, ever interfering with a royal avatar. The Constitution to be disrespected and the Declaration to be disrespected by those that have been incompetent, that have no problem accumulating debt with damages and defamation. I'm concerned about your faith and your objectives in your faith. Harms to my body, the doctors, I hope, that have been partaking in this, the doctors in particular, I hope you know that any further harms my body endures is also, that's risico, that's a risk. The damages to my body have been quite severe. So I'm really trying to just basically explain the collateral when damaging an avatar or disrespecting an avatar, or when disrespecting royal blood, or disrespecting a royal heir, or when disrespecting my old farms, or when disrespecting my matrimony. These are little basic thoughts, so I just hope everyone's able to understand the basics. The Human Rights Declaration has been disrespected, so I hope the United Nations, as a humanitarian of the President's Office and the Duke of Edinburgh Award, and so the EMAS, as well. I've been in Europe as a humanitarian, and, I think the United Nations has an obligation to be respectful to its position rather than the politics, the bad politics. I'm fully aware of the humanitarians that are working in the best interests of the dirty politics policy that has a preoccupation with my property, but those people might do some research and homework about the origins of people's ascent. Some people are being very short-sighted and short-minded about the reality of a very long-standing family that I represent. So if there's going to be continuous obstacle and obstruction with disrespect to the social reform I initiated in 2018, then I have concerns for those that are partaking in bad practices, that have debts owing, and that are trespassing, and that have been of bad faith. Sad sign of the times.